Welcome back to Reviews. Like always, I'm your host Lee. Today I'm talking about Mickey 17, the most recent Bong Joon-ho movie. I've never seen one of his movies, so aside from what I could piece together from the trailers, I didn't really have any idea what to expect. So how good is this movie? Well, the reviews have it somewhere in the 70 to 80% range among both critics and audience, which is rare and of note because audiences and critics rarely agree on anything. But let's talk about it and see where we land. So, what's the premise of the movie from the trailer's perspective? Well, Mickey is an expendable on a several year long intergalactic voyage to a new planet. An expendable is a person who has agreed to have all of this stuff done to them. They do the hard labor, they do the dangerous jobs, they get tested on, stuff like that. And then once he dies, he gets reprinted within about a day or so, which then causes an issue as two of them exist at the same time, and multiples is a capital crime in this world. All right, so the additional parts past the trailer that you don't really get to see until you go see the movie is that the ship is being commanded by a failed politician who is an idiot narcissist who's obsessed with his image and with media. And this is where we kind of get into political satire of the movie. The politician is mainly held up by fans who are kind of cult like with a religious bent, and they wear red clothing, red hats, and that stuff. So Kenneth Marshall, the politician that's commanding the ship, does do some valuable things with Mickey, who seems to be the only expendable on this ship. Things like testing for poisons, developing vaccines, seeing how radiation affects the body, seeing how lack of oxygen in space affects the body, etc. And I do think these are really important things to have done. It just kind of brings up moral issues of why would you do this to a human being? So more on kind of the morality aspect of it, the biggest question in this movie is it okay to do horrible things to somebody, put them in situations in which they are assuredly going to die because you know they're going to be brought back within a day? That is the main one. Another one is if you have somebody who has agreed to this of their own free will, is it okay to put anybody else in harm's way? Then there's the relationship aspect of if you're dating somebody who dies constantly and each time they come back they are slightly different in personality, are you really dating the same person and do you have any real right to say that you're dating that same person? The movie does bring up a philosophical question that it never takes the time to answer, and it feels almost like a ship of Theseus thing, except instead of being everything being replaced is it the same ship. It's if two people that are clones of each other exist, one was supposed to be dead, and the other one was what was made after the fact, which one has more right to life? And like I said, they never go into answering this. They just kind of resolve the movie, and we go from there. So ultimately, when you break this movie down, it's a political satire under the guise of a dystopian science fiction movie, and we get to see what happens when a morally bankrupt politician with a cult-like following is in a world where they can completely control everything, the narrative and the mission that is happening. At some points, the visuals are a little bit heavy-handed, like the red clothing that doesn't really need to exist to make it clear who the director is talking about. The acting in this movie is phenomenal, specifically Robert Pattinson and Mark Ruffalo. Um, Robert Pattinson does a great job with voice acting, especially because eventually he has to play off of himself, so he has to be talking to himself, and the voices are very, very different. Even it seems like the structure of his face changes between the two different characters, so it even looks noticeably different, which I thought was really, really incredible. I will say, while I loved Mark Ruffalo's performance, he does kind of ham it up a little bit, and he does use a cadence when he's speaking similar to a lot of politicians currently, so that might get other people to think certain things as well. Steven Yeun does a pretty good job as that kind of shitty friend. You know the type, but they're always smiling when they're doing absolutely terrible things to you, and they act like nothing that they're doing is wrong at all. That's what Steven Yeun does, and he does a great job. Naomi Aki does a good job as the girlfriend, but she's like super controlling and super possessive and like domineering of Mickey, and it feels really, really weird. But the movie never does anything with this. They're just like, they're in love, and that kind of ends with that, and there's no resolution to the type of person that she seems to be within the movie. My only real issue with this movie is the pacing, and it just takes so long to get into the bulk of the story, but it also takes a long time to finish it up at the end. While it's not like inherently boring, it is noticeable. The runtime is around 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm pretty confident that cutting out 15 minutes or so would make this movie feel a whole lot more smooth and tolerable to watch. In the end, this is a good movie that I would highly recommend going to watch. I do understand that the politics and how they're portrayed in the movie will put some people off, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. If you're super conservative, you might not like the way that the politician and some of his followers are portrayed. But if you want to see kind of a dark and funny satire movie with some fantastic acting, this is definitely something that you should watch. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so you can get more videos like this. I try to have at least 2 videos out per week, real reviews like this, or AI reviews depending on movie releases. I think next week I have 2 real reviews coming out. I'll see you next time.